Bhagavad Das, and I'm your host here tonight for our Yoga Kirtan Hawaii's Soul Journey, a Spiritual Self-Discovery. Thank you for joining us. Yoga Kirtan Hawaii, obviously you've found us here on, if you're watching this, you've found us here on Facebook. And Yoga Kirtan Hawaii is a Oahu-based organization, and Yoga Kirtan Hawaii, we offer free or donation-based programs, classes, and events, and including Hatha Yoga, Kirtan, meditation classes, and during better times, happier times, vegan dinners. So we're currently holding regular events on Facebook Live. You can visit the Facebook page for more information. So Yoga Kirtan Hawaii is the outreach arm of a larger organization called the Science of Identity Foundation, which was founded by my spiritual teacher, Jagaguru Siddhasarupananda Paramahansa, who's a disciple of His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami. So they're coming in a long line of spiritual teachers, which is known as the Brahma, Madhva, Gauriya Sampradaya. And Sampradaya means lineage or tradition. And this Sampradaya began with the Supreme Person himself. So it's a very ancient lineage which can be traced back at least 5,000 years. So the program we're going to be doing tonight, we're going to have some kirtan, and then there'll be a yoga wisdom class on the topic of soul journey, a spiritual self-discovery, and then that'll just be followed by about 5 minutes of kirtan. So we should be finished about 8 p.m. Hawaii time. So kirtan is the chanting of transcendental sound vibrations or mantras. And the word mantra is a Sanskrit word. Man refers to the mind, and tra means to draw away. So a mantra is a spiritual sound vibration, a transcendental sound vibration, which draws the mind away from the material dimension and places it onto the spiritual dimension. So mantras are either the names of the Supreme Person, or words spoken by Him, or words about Him. So, and these mantras are very much like a lifeline that you can grab hold of. It's like we're being thrown a lifeline from the spiritual world or the spiritual dimension down to us, or to us here in this material dimension. And we can grab hold of these transcendental sound vibrations. And actually, just like riding a transcendental wave, we can ride them back to our real home, back to the spiritual world. So while we're doing the kirtan, if you find your mind begins to wander, just try and gently bring it back to the kirtan, to the mantra. So, and you can take shelter in this mantra. You can, just as I'm sitting here in this comfortable lounge chair and leaning back and resting my arm, similarly you can take shelter in or rest peacefully in the sound of these transcendental sound vibrations. So the mantra we'll be chanting is Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana. And kirtan is done in a call and response way. So one person leads and we all listen, and then we respond, and back and forth like that. So my wife, Radhisham Dasi, will be coming out to, or joining us to lead the kirtan for us. So Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana.
Hello everyone, thanks for coming. Nice to have you here. already done my two. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohan. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohan. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohan. Gopala Gopala
get to 8. She chants much better than me, plus my voice is kind of strained. So anyway, thank you for joining us. Very happy you can be here with us. And I'm going to speak now on yoga wisdom, on soul journey, a spiritual self-discovery. So before speaking on this yoga wisdom, on this transcendental subject matter, first I'd like to offer my respects to my spiritual teacher, Jagatguru Sudasarupananda Paramahansa, who's taught me this yoga wisdom. So yoga wisdom is something that you receive through a disciplic succession. So it's not something that of course, you can read books. You can read Bhagavad Gita or Patanjali's Yoga Sutras or various other yoga texts, and of course you'll receive great benefit from doing so. But to actually really understand and appreciate these teachings, one receives them through the disciplic succession, and so that one can actually understand the actual meaning of the yoga texts and actually appreciate them. And so this is the role of the living spiritual teacher, is to assist the student to properly understand this yoga wisdom. So anyway, so I offer my respects to my spiritual teacher, who has opened my eyes with this transcendental yoga wisdom. So I also offer my respects to all of you. Namaste, Namaste means to please accept my respects. I offer my respects unto you. Namas is respects, and te is unto you. So please accept my respects. Thank you very much for joining with me on this evening, spending your time with us. Everyone's time is very valuable. We only have so much time. From the moment we are born, time is ticking away. From the moment we are born, we allocated so many breaths or so many years of life in this body. At most, maybe around 100, generally 100 years, generally a lot less. And so every moment that we're alive within this body is a moment that's now died. It's gone. You can never get it back. You can't spend any amount of money to get back time. Sometimes people try to extend their life or do extensive research. There's always like a search for what's called the fountain of youth. And this fountain of youth was in different Greek and Roman mythology, there was like stories about the fountain of youth. And so people, were seeking this fountain of youth, some kind of drink that you could drink that would extend your life, that would make you youthful. Because, of course, not only each moment that passes are we a moment closer to death, but also each moment that passes is a moment that we're closer to old age. And, what's known or described in Sanskrit as jara, old age. It's described as a witch, the witch called Jara, because nobody wants Jara. Nobody wants old age. Everyone, of course, wants youth. And this, of course, leads to the search for the fountain of youth, or the search to be able to keep your body fit, to stay younger, longer, all kinds of, advice and products on how to keep yourself looking younger and feeling younger for as long as possible before the witch called Jara, or old age, catches up with you, and no longer are you young, and your body is experiencing all kinds of issues and problems. Difficult to stand up straight, difficult to walk, have to get walking sticks, and generally what may come with old age is also infirmity, or different kinds of disease, which known in Sanskrit as Vyadi, diseases. As longer a person lives, the more likely you are to be afflicted with some kind of disease, such as cancer, or heart problems, or strokes, or multiple sclerosis, or whatever it may be. So this human form of life, and particularly where we have youthfulness, is very valuable. Where our mind is sharp. As we get older, our mind begins to dull, and we can't remember things as well. It's harder to focus. So this human form of life is very valuable, extremely valuable, and it's valuable because in this human form of life, we have the ability to inquire into what is the meaning of life, what is the purpose of life, why am I here, who am I? Who am I really? I know that, of course, I'm this, or I think that I'm this body, and I have a certain name, and I'm a certain number of years old, and I'm a certain race or nationality, or a certain gender, and so on and so forth. I have a certain occupation. I'm married to such and such. I'm the son or daughter of so and so. I have certain siblings. I'm married to so and so. I'm the parents of Sally and Sue, so on and so forth. Right? All these different labels attaching to the body, but still, we all kind of inherently know that this isn't really me. We don't understand how it works or who I really am, because we hear the concept of a soul, and it's all a bit fuzzy. We're not quite sure what the soul is, or what the connection between the soul and the body is. Great misunderstandings about this subject matter, which the yoga texts make abundantly clear, and I'll speak a little more about this in a moment. It's so in this, we have the opportunity in the human form of life to ask these questions and seek out answers to these questions, the real questions of life. The real questions of life are not, what will I have for dinner tonight? How will I enjoy myself? What will I watch on Netflix or Amazon or Disney Plus or whatever? What book will I read? Or who am I going to get married to? Or what job will I have? Or what will I do when I get older? I always remember as a kid, everyone's asking, what are you going to do when you grow up? You're like, well, I've got no idea. And people kind of, anyway, people are always asking that. What do you want to do when you grow up? Well, anyway, at a certain point, you've got to come up with answers to these kind of questions. But these are only temporary situations, temporary situational questions. These are not the real questions of life. I mean, they may be important. I'm not that they shouldn't be neglected, but these are not the real questions of life. The real questions of life are, who am I? Why am I here? What is the purpose of life? And why am I suffering? And the different ways we suffer. We experience birth, diseases, old age, and death. Janma, Mritu, Vyadi, and jara. So janma is birth, so going through the process of birth, we're actually, confined within our mother's womb, right next to her stomach, where there's all kinds of heat being generated, and maybe she eats foods that don't sit well with me, or maybe there's little microbes or whatever biting my skin, whatever it may be. There's all kinds of discomfort and difficulties that we experience whilst we're in the womb. And then at the time of birth, we get pushed out this narrow little birth canal, and our head gets all kind of misshapen, and of course I come out and start crying after this traumatic experience. And anyway, and I go through all kinds of difficulties. I get different kinds of diseases or sicknesses, or go through the struggles of getting through school, and so anyway, we go through the struggle of existence, right? Of birth, diseases, old age, and eventually death. So we have to question, well, why? Why is it like this? Why am I suffering in this way? Why do I have to go through this experience of birth, diseases, old age, and death? And we experience suffering from our body and mind. So the suffering of the body, of course, oftentimes it's disease and death, old age, but not only that. Of course, we experience physical discomfort. Just all kinds of difficulties that comes from the body. And then, of course, we experience difficulties from our mind. Our mind has all kinds of desires that I can't fulfill, or some people suffer from mental disorders, schizophrenia or paranoia, or people experience intense anxiety. They get anxiety attacks. We just have insatiable desires. There's so many different ways that our mind and our body cause problems for us, cause different kinds of miserable situations for us. And then, of course, there's miseries caused by other living entities. This is known as adibautika. So miseries caused by our body and mind are called adhyatmika. And then miseries caused by other living entities are adibautika. So many different living entities causing us trouble, from the dogs barking to the chickens crowing. In Kailua now, there's starting to be lots of chickens. When it used to be that, I remember going to Kauai a few times, and there was all these chickens and roosters. It was kind of like, oh, what's the story here? And it even got sort of so bad that they even kind of call the chickens like the Kauai county bird, like the symbol of the county kind of thing, because it just got totally out of control. And so you used to sort of go to Kauai and go, wow, this is kind of strange, and then over the years, like maybe 10, I haven't been to Kauai for quite a while now, but anyway, after maybe like 10, 15 years, I start noticing, well, there's chickens in Kailua. Suddenly they're outside the Down to Earth store, and they're, even in the middle of town. And, when I go for walks in the morning now, I know some of them up in the hills, and it's kind of like, wow, these chickens are going to take over, and they make this terrible noise, especially early in the morning, can wake you up, disturb your sleep. And this is kind of like a mild annoyance, of course. There's mosquitoes buzzing around, insects biting, what to speak of the miseries that other humans can cause you. Like I watched this terrible video the other day. It was just absolutely shocking, where these, person bought a house in a certain kind of neighborhood, and in this particular neighborhood, all the people are of one particular race, and they didn't want people from this other race living in that neighborhood. Anyway, this person who bought this house was completely oblivious to this when they bought their house. Anyway, so they bought the house and go there, and then these people turn up and like, hey, you can't live here. And the guy's kind of like, oh, like, what are you talking about? And it's like, well, you're the wrong race. And they've actually got it on video. You can watch it. And they assault the guy and hit him with a spade in the front of the head and then in the back of the head. And they start grabbing his stuff, throwing it down the stairs and smashing it. And then he has to go and finally sort of get away and get in a car. And then as they're driving away, they're coming out smashing the car. It's all on video. They've been accused of or charged with a hate crime. Anyway, it's just shocking. Absolutely shocking. I was kind of like I'm still recovering from it almost. But anyway, so so you have the hassles caused by other living entities, ranging from the annoying dog barking all the way up to someone who's like physically assaulting you. And of course this can even get worse. You can be raped or murdered, killed, by other living entities. And, of course, and we're all very fearful and anxiety that this could happen to us. We have to be very careful. I was reading something the other day where, in a management book, but anyway, it was talking about how people, the brain is sort of, or the mind, we're always like scanning the environment to see, is it safe? Is it safe? Is this a safe place for me to be right now? In this conversation I'm having with someone, is it a safe conversation? Are they looking at me in a judgmental way? Are they about to criticize me? Are they being supportive of me? Or are they against me? Right? It's kind of like you start looking at people, are they for me or against me? And if they're against me, well then I try and like retreat from the situation, so anyway, so there's miseries caused by other living entities, adibautika. And then of course there's miseries caused by natural and social forces, which are much greater than I am and beyond me. I have no control over them. They just happen. I got no influence. Is it raining today? Like yesterday it was flooding. Suddenly it's flooding all over the place. There's flood warnings in effect and actual flooding happening. There's hurricane, like, last year there was like a hurricane coming, and it's like, well, you can't do anything but just prepare for the hurricane, hope for the best. And of course then the hurricane's barreling towards Oahu, and it's like, we're going like, oh my God, what's going to happen? It's heading straight for us. And then suddenly it boggles or makes a slight turn and misses Oahu by like 50 miles or something, So anyway, we have no control over these things, these natural and social forces. They're known as adidaivika, factors beyond our control. So we're experiencing suffering from these three different factors: our own body and mind, other living entities, and natural and social forces. So in the human form of life, we're able to question, well, why is it like this? Why am I suffering? Why am I suffering from these birth, diseases, old age, and death? And why is there miseries and suffering caused by my own body and mind and by other living entities and natural and social forces? Why is one person born rich, and why is one person born poor? And why is one person born in a beautiful body and another in a very in a deformed body with mental disabilities or mental and physical disabilities, So like, this human form of life is the opportunity to make inquiry into these types of questions, And this program I'm giving here on Facebook Live, it's only of benefit to people, to humans, right? The animals can't take any benefit from listening to me speak this yoga wisdom. It's of no benefit to them. It's only in the human form of life do we have the mental capacity to inquire into these questions. And so in the yoga text, there's a particular yoga text known as Vedanta Sutra. And Vedanta, Veda, the word Veda means knowledge, and Anta is the end. So Vedanta means the end of all knowledge. And Sutra refers to a short, pithy statement. Actually, a sutra means like a string. It's like a sort of a string that's tightly packed, and you unstring it, stretch it out to understand the full meaning of the sutra. So it's like a little pithy saying that can then be expanded upon at great length. And so the very first sutra in this Vedanta Sutra, the end of all knowledge, is Om Athato Brahma Jignasa. Now is the time to inquire into Brahma, or the absolute truth. Now is the time. Now is the time. And it's now is the time, because now you have the opportunity in the human form of life to inquire into these subject matters, into these questions that I've been raising. So there's generally speaking, two kinds of people. So in one way, and I'm not talking about Democrats and Republicans. So in this world, there's people who are just like all out to have a good time. This world is very much like, I grew up in Sydney, Australia, and every year there's this thing called the Royal Easter Show, and it's held at the Sydney Showgrounds, or the Sydney where the SCG is, the Sydney Cricket Ground. And when you go to this Royal Easter Show, there's all kinds of things going on there. There's like whole areas with lots of sideshows, and where you can engage in like activities and throw balls and win prizes, or go through, go on different rides, merry-go-rounds and Ferris wheels and Big Dippers, all those things that spin around. Anyway, of course they had these in Hawaii as well. They used to have them on Maui. I used to live on Maui. They have this Maui fair there, and and there's all kinds of food you can buy. It's generally really kind of low class kind of food. And have this particular thing like fairy floss, that's just fluffy stuff that looks like cotton, but it's all, of course, full of sugar, so tastes pretty good. And anyway, so there's people arriving at the entrances and wanting to come in and really have a good time. They want to go on the sideshows, go on the rides, see the different activities that are taking place there, and just generally have a really good time and enjoy themselves at the show. And at the Royal Easter Show in Sydney, you can spend a lot of time there. There's a lot to see. At the Maui Show, not quite so much. Or even on Oahu, they have it over at the, or they have events like this at the Aiea Stadium, at the Aloha Stadium. And so anyway, there's people there that they're going on the rides and they're eating the fairy floss, and they're just, like you see little kids who go there, they're just so excited, actually I go to Disneyland. I don't go, not to Disneyland, but I go to a thing called Expo West. It's a big natural products show, and every year it's held in Anaheim, except of course this year and last year it got cancelled. But anyway, for it must be like almost 30 years, I go every year to this event, this show in Anaheim. And of course Disneyland is there. And people are coming from all over the country to go to Disneyland. There's all, huge number of hotels, motels where people are staying that have come to go to Disneyland, and there's families with the kids and so on, and they're going to Disneyland and going into all the exhibits and rides and so on. So anyway, and so people are, one kind of person is like wanting to really just enjoy the show. They're just wanting to experience it all, and they're just like, wow, this is so much fun, this is awesome, I'm really enjoying myself, and they're trying to sort of extract every ounce of pleasure out of being at this event, at this place, and enjoying themselves. And then they're not very interested. Like if I was to say to them, look, let's have a discussion about why am I here, and what's the purpose of life, and this world's a place of misery, where you experience birth, diseases, old age, and death. They're just going to be kind of like, come on, man, what the hell are you talking about? You're interfering with my enjoyment. So this is known as bhukti, the desire for sense enjoyment. And it's so strong and powerful that you just try ignore anything that sort of makes you question makes you question deeper of whether there's anything deeper than trying to enjoy myself in this wonderful material world. So this fairground that I'm describing is like a metaphor or an analogy for this whole material world. So in this whole material world, there's so many people who are just trying to enjoy themselves. They're just trying to get ahead. They want to, have a good time. And this is called bhukti, the desire for sense enjoyment. And then this other kind of person, they've been at the fair, they've been at the Royal Easter Show, and they've been on all the rides, and some of them they went many times on the rides, and they're starting to get a bit sick of it. And they had some of this fairy floss, but a lot of it got stuck on their face. And they're kind of like, oh, yuck, ugh, gross. Okay, I don't want any more fairy floss. My stomach's hurting. I've eaten too many candy apples and fairy floss and disgusting hot dogs. And and then I just went on the Big Dipper. And as I went down the dipper, it was too much. I'd eaten too much and I threw up. Or the person behind me threw up, and they threw up on me, and it's like, gross. Okay, that's enough. I've had enough. And then there's people hassling me there. Maybe someone picked my pocket, stole my wallet. And, I've just had enough. I want to go home now. So you find this with little kids will go there, and at first they're super excited, and then after a while they start getting all gripey and whiny and crying and sulking, and it's like, they just want to go home. I want to go home, mummy. Let me go home, mummy. So they just, they get sick of it. I want to go. Let me out of here. So you got the people coming through the gates who want to enjoy. This is those who are seeking bhukti. And then you have those who are like, I've had enough. Let me out of here. They want to get liberated from this show. They want to get out. So this is called mukti, the desire for liberation. So we have mukti and bhukti. Bhukti, the desire for sense gratification. And then after we try and satisfy our senses and we get frustrated in doing so and get sick of the whole damn thing, then we want mukti, we want liberation. So it's called the mukti bhukti, or bhukti mukti. Either way, same thing, right? The desire for sense enjoyment and the desire for liberation. So, in yoga wisdom, of course, those who are seeking liberation or who are questioning what is the purpose of life and why am I suffering, then of course yoga wisdom is for you. If you're wanting to enjoy yourself, well, then you're not going to be very interested in yoga wisdom. And yoga wisdom, the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, the teachings of the different yoga texts, the teachings of this wonderful disciplic succession or sampradaya or tradition that I spoke of earlier. These teachings will give you actual knowledge, actual transcendental knowledge or yoga wisdom, which will allow you to understand who you actually are. So this program is called Soul Journey, a Spiritual Self-Discovery. So you are spiritual in essence. You are a spirit soul, or the Sanskrit term is an Atma. You are different from your body. This body that you have on, this temporary material body, is just that, temporary. Whereas you, the spirit soul, are eternal. And currently the kind of journey that we're on, it's all based around a misunderstanding, a misidentification, this belief that I'm this material body, and that this material body is everything, that this one life I have is everything. And so I spend my life in a particular way. I go on a particular journey, the journey of life, in a particular way. Everything viewed from in the perspective, in relationship to this particular body and life that I have in this body. But once we receive yoga wisdom and understand that no, actually, I am spiritual in essence, I am eternal, then of course my whole journey completely changes. I have a completely different perspective on what is the purpose of life. So the purpose of life is to actually achieve eternal life, to live eternal life, not to misidentify with this body as the all in all, but to actually become spiritually realized and to achieve eternal life. So this is the goal of yoga wisdom. And this, the Kirtan that we engaged in at the beginning of this program, by engaging in Kirtan, by chanting these transcendental sound vibrations, then we can, as I briefly described, these are like a lifeline from the eternal spiritual dimension. And so I can actually grab hold of these spiritual sound vibrations, these transcendental mantras. Okay, these transcendental mantras, and these can actually transport me to the spiritual world. These are like where there is no matter, there is no temporary material bodies, where I have an actual spiritual body, and which is non-separate from myself. In this world, there's a duality. There's me, the soul, and then there's my body, and there's a separation or distinction between us. But in the spiritual world, you are your body. There is no distinction. There is no duality. So, and in the spiritual world, there is activity. It's not that, oh, that nothing happens there. No. This material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there is loving relationships between, on a spiritual level, between the individual spirit soul, other individual spirit souls, and with the source of all the souls, the Supreme Soul, Lord Shri Krishna Himself. So anyway, so I invite you to engage in Kirtan, to watch the different and participate in the different Kirtan programs that Yoga Kirtan Hawaii puts on, to watch and listen to the different Yoga Wisdom talks that are held on Yoga Kirtan Hawaii, and to visit the website wisdom.yoga, where there's different teachings and videos that you can watch. And so thank you very much. We'll have just a short kirtan now. Thanks for watching. Thank you. Namaste.
Gopala
Thanks for joining us.
Ala Govindarama Madana